Hello everyone, welcome to biology class. Today in this video lecture we will study about how pituitary gland it controls the adrenal gland, and we will study the different diffuse endocrine glands which help to maintain the homeostasis of the body. Let us see about first what is the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland, it is the endocrine gland present in the human body. It is also called suprarenal gland, as it is present just above the kidney. At the tip of the kidney, this gland is located and it looks like a cap. It is protected in a capsule and it produces a variety of hormones. Adrenal glands are the small structure. They are about 4 to 5 gram in an adult. They are attached to top of the kidney. They are 2 in number. They release chemical substance called hormones. Hormones, they are released in blood. Hormones affect the many parts of body. Secretion of the hormone of adrenal gland, it is controlled by hypothalamus and anterior pituitary gland by releasing CRH, that is the cortical releasing hormone, and adrenocorticotropic hormone, which control the secretion of adrenal gland. Let us focus on the structure of adrenal gland. Adrenal gland, it is differentiated into the two different layers. Outer layer, it is a cortex layer, and the inner, it is the medulla. Cortex layer, it is a thin and it is yellowish, while the medulla, it is a reddish brown in structure. Cortex layer, further it is differentiated into the three different layers. The outer cortex, it is a zona glomerulosa. The middle layer of cortex, it is a zona fasciculata. And the innermost layer of cortex, it is a zona reticularis. Let us focus on adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex, it is made up of three layers. Zona glomerulosa, it is the outermost layer. It is responsible for the mineralocorticoid secretion. The most important mineralocorticoid, it is the aldosterone. Aldosterone, it helps to regulate sodium, potassium concentration. It also regulates the salt and the water balance, as well as it also helps to control the blood pressure and the blood volume. When aldosterone it is less, the excess amount of salt, that is sodium salts and the potassium salts, get excreted along with excess water, and that's why the water level it is decreased, as well as the salt level is also decreased, and because of that the dehydration condition it is produced, which decreases the blood pressure. Zona fasciculata, it is the second layer of cortex. It is the middle layer of cortex. It is responsible for the secretion of hormone glucocorticoid. It is a cortisol. It regulates metabolism of carbohydrate, protein, and the lipids. It is also responsible to stimulate the production of glucose. It has anti-inflammatory effect. It is also immunosuppressive, and that's why it reduces the formation of antibodies. Let's move on the third layer, which is the innermost layer of the cortex, and it's termed as zona reticularis. It is responsible for the secretion of gonadocorticoids. They are also called as androgen. They play very important role in the development of secondary sexual characters. These characters, they are also called as the external sex characters. With the help of these characters, externally, we can identify male and the female. In case of female, if this hormone secretion, if it is excess, the condition it is produced, it is called adrenal virilism. In this condition, the excess hair, it is produced on the face. In case of male, if the secretion is excess, then the condition is produced gynecomastia. In this condition, the enlargement of breast, it is seen in case of male. Adrenal medulla, it is the innermost part of adrenal gland. This is the part, it gives two different hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline. Adrenaline, it is also called epinephrine, while the noradrenaline, it is also called norepinephrine. Adrenaline, it is also termed as emergency hormone. During the emergency, that is the condition of fight and the flight, this hormone, it is released. And that's why this hormone, it is called emergency hormone. Noradrenaline, this is the hormone, it is responsible to regulate the blood pressure and the vasoconstriction. With the help of this figure, we can summarize the different hormones secreted by the adrenal gland from the different layers of the cortex and the medulla. Let us see what are the different disorders of adrenal gland. When the adrenal gland, it becomes either overactive or the underactive condition, the disorders are produced. Because of overactivity, the hypersecretion condition is produced, and during that time, the Cushing disease, it is formed. During the hyposecretion of the adrenal gland, the disease produced, it is called Addison disease. Now first, we'll study about Addison disease. The Addison disease or the Addison syndrome, it is because of hypoactivity of adrenal gland. The glucocorticoid secretion, it is less. Because of that, low blood pressure, weight loss, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, low blood sugar, skin get increases its pigmentation, loss of secondary sexual characters. Such characters can be observed, and on the basis of that, we can identify the person who is having Addison disease. The Cushing disease, it is the disease which is produced because of hyperactivity of adrenal gland. During the hyperactivity, the glucocorticoid secretion is the high, which is responsible for the high sugar level, excretion of the glucose in the urine, rise in sodium ion concentration in the blood, and it is also responsible for the obesity. Let us study the next endocrine gland, pancreas. Pancreas, it is located just below the stomach and the duodenum. Duodenum, it is the first part of the small intestine. The stomach and the duodenum, it form a loop-like structure. In this loop structure, this leaf-shaped pancreas structure, it is present. Pancreas, it is responsible for the secretion of different hormones which help to maintain the homeostasis of our body. Let us see what are those hormones and how it controls the coordination or the homeostasis in our body. Let us see what are the endocrine cells present in the pancreas. In the pancreas, the isolates of Langerhans, these are the small patches. They are endocrine in nature. In isolates of Langerhans, there are the four different cells are present. They are alpha cells, beta cells, delta cell, and the F cells. We'll study one by one about all these four cells in detail. Alpha cells, they are about 20%. They secrete the hormone glucagon. Glucagon, it is a hormone, it is responsible for the increase of blood sugar level. It increases the glucose level in the blood. The beta cell, they are about 65% of total isolates of Langerhans cells. These are the cells, they secrete the hormone insulin. Insulin play very important role to decrease the blood sugar level by increasing the synthesis of glycogen in the liver cells. Delta cells, these are the cells, they are responsible for the secretion of somatostatin and they are about 10%. This somatostatin, it is responsible to inhibit the secretion of the insulin as well as the glucagon. That means the regulation of insulin hormone and the glucagon hormone, it takes place under what? Delta cells. F cells, they are less than 2% and they are secreting pancreatic polypeptides. Diabetes mellitus, it is the condition. It is formed when the beta cell, it fails to secrete the hormone insulin or they secrete insufficient quantity of the insulin, the condition which is produced called diabetes mellitus. In diabetes mellitus condition, in the blood, the insulin hormone present, it is very less. Because of less insulin formation by the beta cells, the glucose, it is absorbed very less in the cell. And that's why the energy produced in the cell, it is very less. As the glucose, it remains in the blood, the glucose level or the sugar level of the blood, it is increased. And the condition, it is called as glucemia or the diabetes. There are two main types of the diabetes, type 1 and the type 2. Type 1 diabetes occurs because the insulin producing cells of the pancreas, that is the beta cells, are get damaged, and that's why the insulin formation, it is little or it is absent. As the insulin, it is absent in the blood, the sugar, it is not absorbed in the body cells, and the sugar, it remains in the blood, and the energy formation in the body, it is also decreases. The type 1 diabetes must use insulin injections to control their blood glucose. Type 1, it is the most common form of the diabetes in the people who are under age 30. In normal condition, insulin, it combined with the receptor which is present on the surface of the cell. Every cell has this receptor on its surface to accept the insulin molecule. When the insulin, it get locked in this receptor, it forms the complex. It is called as the insulin receptor complex. When this complex is generated, then only this glucose gate get open Glucose gate means what? It is the region from where the glucose molecule they get entered into the cell. So this opening, it is available only when the insulin is present on the surface of the cell. In type 2 condition, what happens? In the blood, insulin is present, but this insulin is not able to get locked into the receptor present on the cell. And as here the hormone receptor complex, it is not formed, the glucose is not entered into the cell. As the cell is getting the insufficient glucose, the cell metabolism, it gets slow down, and in the blood the glucose level is get increased. This excess glucose, it may found in the urine also, because in the excretion process this excess glucose get released. So in the blood also this excess glucose is present, as well as in the urine also the excess glucose it is found. The condition, it is called as a type 2 condition. Okay, this type 2 condition, it is formed when the glucose resistance cells they are formed. Glucose resistance means here even though the insulin is present, the glucose it is not absorbed into the cell. The gonads, that is the reproductive organs, they are endocrine in nature. In female, reproductive organ ovary, and in the male, a reproductive organ testes, they produce different hormones, and that's why they are endocrine in function. Ovary, it is the female reproductive organ, and it is responsible for the secretion of 4 different hormones, namely estrogen, progesterone, relaxin, and inhibin. First of all, we'll see about the estrogen. Estrogen, it is a hormone, it is coming from follicular cells. Estrogen hormone, it is responsible for the development of the follicle, as well as it also produces secondary sexual characters. Progesterone, this is the hormone, it is released during the pregnancy period. It is coming from corpus luteum structure, which is formed after the ovulation. From the follicle, when the egg is released, and the follicle becomes the empty follicular cells, where the follicular cell they get changed into the endocrine structure called corpus luteum. Corpus luteum, it is a secretory structure which is formed. It secretes the hormone progesterone. The level of progesterone, it is more during the pregnancy period to maintain the wall of uterus, the muscular wall of uterus, in a steady position. The third hormone, it is the relaxin. The relaxin hormone, it is secreted by, again, the corpus luteum. It relaxes the cervix of the pregnant female, as well as it also relaxes the ligaments of the pelvic girdle for the easy birth of the young one. Last hormone, it is inhibin. Inhibin, it is secreted by, again, the corpus luteum. It inhibits the secretion of FSH, and it also inhibits the secretion of growth hormone releasing factor, gonadotrophin releasing factor, and that's why it is termed as inhibin. Testes, these are the male reproductive organ. They are responsible for the secretion of the hormone androgen. Androgen, it is also called testosterone. The testosterone, this is the hormone, it is coming from interstitial cell or the Leydig cell. These are the cells, they are present in the testes, and they are under the control of ICSH, that is interstitial cell stimulating hormone or the LH. This is the hormone, it is coming from pituitary gland. They are responsible for giving the secondary sexual characters such as facial and the pubic hair, deepening of the voice, broadening of shoulder, etc. It also helps to maintain the testes. Placenta, it is a diffuse endocrine gland. This is the structure it is produced inside the uterus. Uterus, it is a sac where the babies get developed. To provide the nutrition to developing baby, the placenta structure is formed. Placenta structure, it connects the baby. Through the placenta, the nutrition is passed for the development of the baby. The placenta play a very important role in the secretion of the hormones like estrogen, progesterone, HCG, that is the human chorionic gonadotropin. These all the hormones, they are responsible to maintain the uterine wall in a steady position. Because the uterine wall, it is a muscular in nature and muscle have the ability to contract and they relax. During the pregnancy, this uterine wall muscle, it is kept in the steady position. There is no contraction, the relaxation till the pregnancy is there. And this is all because of what? The secretion of the placenta. It also helps in the maintaining the thickness of endometrium. The endometrium, it is the innermost layer of the uterus. This endometrium where the different glands are present and these glands, they are nourishing this baby. So the wall of the uterus, that is endometrium wall, it is also maintained because of these hormones, as well as the muscular wall, that is myometrium, it is also kept in the steady position with the help of these different hormones which is secreted by a placenta. As this gland, it is called as the diffuse gland because only during the pregnancy this gland is working. Only during what? A pregnancy period, only these glands are the active one because only during the pregnancy the placenta structure is formed. After the pregnancy, this gland, it is get reduced. The gastrointestinal tract, which include gastric region and the intestinal region. The certain cells of the gastrointestinal tract, they are endocrine in function, they secrete the hormone and they play important role in the process of digestion, as well as they are also responsible to release the different digestive juices. Gastrointestinal tract, it secretes the four important hormones: gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, and the gastric inhibitory factors. We'll see one by one their role. Gastrin hormone, it stimulates the gastric gland to secrete their gastric juice for the digestion of enzymes. Secretin, it is the second hormone. It is the hormone, it stimulates the pancreas to release its pancreatic juice, as well as it also stimulates the liver to release the bile. Cholecystokinin, this hormone is also called CCK, or it is also called pancreozymin, PZ. Cholecystokinin, it stimulates the pancreas to release the enzymes. It also stimulates the gallbladder to release the bile. So cholecystokinin play very important role in the stimulation of the pancreas as well as in stimulation of gallbladder. The fourth hormone, it is the gastric inhibitory factor. In short, it is GIF. This inhibitory factor, it inhibits the secretion of gastrin and the secretin. In short, we can say the gastrin and gastrin and the secretin, this hormone secretion, it is under the control of GIF. Kidney, it is one of the endocrine gland present in our body. kidney. It is called endocrine gland because it releases the three important hormones, that is the renin, erythropoietin, and the calcitriol. Renin, this is the hormone. It is released from the kidney when the blood pressure is the low. To maintain the blood pressure, the renin it is released. So the renin, it controls the blood pressure. Erythropoietin, this is the hormone. It is responsible for the synthesis of red blood cell or the erythrocytes. Erythrocytes, they play important role in the transport of oxygen. When the erythropoietin secretion is the less, the formation of the RBC, it is also less. And it will affect on the transport of oxygen. So the oxygen level will be low if the RBC number will be the low. And to increase the RBC number, erythropoietin is must. The third important hormone which is coming from the kidney, it is the calcitriol. Calcitriol, it is secreted by the kidney and it is the active form of D3. That is the vitamin D. Human heart, it is no doubt pumping organ, but it also acts as an endocrine organ also. The wall of the heart, particularly the atrium region, it is responsible for the secretion of the hormone ANF, that is atrial natriuretic factor. In presence of this hormone, sodium excretion through urine it is increased. As the sodium ions excretion it is increased, it helps to reduce the blood pressure. That means when the blood pressure is increased, that time this ANF it is released from the heart. To maintain the blood pressure, the ANF play very important role. When the blood pressure is low, that time renin it is coming from the kidney. And when the blood pressure is the high, that time ANF it is released from the heart. So ANF and the renin together it balances the blood pressure. Hormone therapy technique, it is good to use in the pregnancy, in the menopause condition, in osteoporosis condition, when the growth hormone deficiency condition is there, or the cell they are resistant to the insulin, in diabetes mellitus type 2 condition, and in the cancer condition, the hormone therapy technique can be used effectively. Thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for further updates. Thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for further updates.